All right, so the new Marvel project has just come out, Secret Invasion, and I know that maybe if I want to be relevant, if I want to make a video that everybody wants to watch, maybe I should be watching that and talking about that instead of what I'm going to be talking about here. I'm sure that's what everybody else is doing in nerd culture, nerd, YouTube, social media, all that stuff. But I just got finished watching Dave season 3 a couple of nights ago, and I'm actually much more interested in talking about that than I am the new Marvel project. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts / review on Dave season 3, and hopefully you guys enjoy this. And if you do enjoy this, hit that like button. Let me know that you enjoy this. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed, and let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. So for those of you that don't know, what is Dave? Dave is basically a show following, it's kind of like a semi-autobiographical show following real-life rapper Lil Dicky, whose real name I think is Dave. It should be Dave, right? David, I'm assuming Dave is short for David, but real-life rapper Lil Dicky and his rise to stardom, or is an attempt at rising to stardom. That's basically what this series is about. Don't turn off right here if that doesn't interest you. It gets much more interesting than that. But basically, that's what it's about. Real life Lil Dicky, he plays himself in this show, or what I would assume is an exaggerated form of himself. One would hope so, because there's some crazy stuff that happens in this series that I can't imagine happening in real life. But the same thing goes for the supporting cast. A lot of these people, these characters are played by the real life versions of themselves. So they're playing basically exaggerated versions of themselves, which is interesting. It's always interesting to watch something like that. It's pretty cool. And yeah, it's Dave season 1 was basically that, what I just explained, the rise to stardom. And it finishes in a heartbreaking way. I love season 1, and it finishes pretty heartbreaking because basically, spoilers, Dave makes the decision to sacrifice love, his relationship, for what he wants to do, which is fame, right? So the season 1 ends on that note. Season 2, I couldn't tell you guys what season 2 was about. I kind of forced myself to watch that season, as I believe that pretty much all Dave season 1 fans forced ourselves to watch season 2, and we convinced ourselves that we were liking it as we were watching it. But season 2 is not good. It's not a good season, and it was pretty heartbreaking to finally come to that realization. It was just a bad season. But then season 3 comes out, so I'm worried. But as soon as I put episode 1 on, I should say, already immediately episode 1 is way better than anything season 2 did. So that's good, at least. In season 3, Dave is he's pretty much reached a certain level of stardom, and now he's on tour. So season 3 is all about that. Every episode is in a different city on this tour, what he calls the Looking for Love tour. And that's one of my minor complaints of this season, is the fact that, especially towards the first few episodes, it felt very episodic. Like I said, it didn't feel like it was a continuity, because every episode was in a different city and something different was going on, to the point where you could watch pretty much any episode in any order, you would get the same experience. But at the end of it, though, you realize, oh, you were on a journey. You were on this Looking for Love tour. And I realized, oh, this is what it's about. Season 3 is really about Dave's search for love. And it took me a while to realize that. But once you do, it becomes so special. And I absolutely loved this season. Like every single episode. I don't think there's one single bad episode, except maybe the last episode, which I'll talk about a little more later on in this video. So to me, Dave season 3 is not only a return to form, it is better than any of the previous seasons in pretty much every single way. Even season 1, which I loved. I think this season 3 is the best season so far, with the exception, like I just said, of the final episode, which I will get into in a couple of minutes. But right now, I'm just keeping it superficial. So some of you might be asking, okay, none of this really interests me. Like, what makes this show special? I'm not interested in hip hop. I'm not interested in rap. I'm much less interested in this rapper, Lil Dicky, and his rise to stardom. Like, maybe none of what I've said so far is of any interest to you if you haven't watched the series yet. So what makes this series special? And basically what makes this series special is the fact that, because of its style, it is a dark comedy, which is another reason why it might not be for everybody. You have to like dark comedy. It's pretty explicit at times, especially season 1. Because of its style being dark comedy, I think it touches, or it's able to touch on certain themes and topics in a way that I don't think would work otherwise. So to me, the topics, the stuff that this series is talking about, episode to episode, season to season, I think it works in a way that would not work outside of this type of series. So, for example, season 2, rather than just beating you over the head, oh, this is special for these reasons, let me just give you a couple of examples. Season 2, there's this one episode where Gaeta, which is a secondary character, and Gaeta is basically, he's been pretty annoying throughout the series, as season 2 is at least. And he's just trying to ride the wave. He's trying to become famous through Lil Dicky. He's trying to hype Lil Dicky up. And he's trying to do his thing, but he messes everything up all the time. He tries too hard. And there's this one episode where they go into basically his background, his history, a few years back or whatever, and you begin to understand why it is that he is the way he is. And basically the reason is because he's bipolar. He's suffering from certain mental health issues, and that is reflected in his personality and everything that he's doing. And it's a pretty sad and shocking episode, not because he's struggling with mental health issues. That's not what makes it sad. What makes it sad is to see how the world reacts to his mental health issues. Basically, nobody understands, right? And we treat him or people treat him as this guy's crazy, this guy's annoying, this, that, and the other. So he's been struggling his whole life basically to try to do something with his life, try to reach a certain level of success and happiness, but the world doesn't really realize what he's going through. And as a black man and being in this rap culture and all of this stuff, he's, I guess, has to hide that aspect of himself, because that's not something that's widely accepted. I know today mental health is something that is pretty much normal now to talk about. It's not as stigmatic as a stigma as it used to be, but growing up it was. So that episode shows that. And dealing with bipolarity usually shows when they talk about mental health issues, they usually talk about depression, anxiety, suicide, stuff like that. But we rarely hear about this other stuff like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and all these other mental health issues. So that episode touches on one particular aspect of mental health in a way that I don't think anybody else has done. Because usually when mental health is touched on shows or movies or whatever, it's either done in a very serious and dramatic way. Like I'm thinking the Joker movie is very dark, very dramatic. It's either that or is very superficial or non-existent. Whereas the way Dave does it, and that particular episode does it, it is dark comedy. So it's always gonna have this undertone, this comedic undertone to it, but you know that they're dealing with a very serious and powerful issue. And when it gets dramatic, it's even more impactful because it's dark comedy. You're not expecting those serious moments to hit the way that they hit. So that's just one example why this series is special. It touches on themes and topics that you wouldn't expect, especially in a series like this. And because it's dark comedy, and because it's the mainline story is so simple and superficial, just following a rapper to his rise or stardom or whatever, these serious moments, dramatic moments and themes and topics catch you off guard, and they hit you in a way, I think, much more powerful than they would if you're watching it with the mentality, oh, this is a drama about mental health, for example. So you're already prepared for that. Whereas here, you're not prepared for that whenever it does hit. So that's one of the reasons why I think this series is special. Season 3 has one episode that I want to get to, and then I'm just going to close my thoughts off. Season 3 has this one episode where it's about, I wasn't really enjoying it, to be honest, as I was watching it. It isn't until the end where I'm like, oh man, like this is the journey that they were taking me on. And basically, it's the reason why I wasn't enjoying it is because I'm a Christian. And this episode, from the start almost, it felt like, oh, here we go again. This is just another episode, another series, another show, movie, whatever, making fun of Christianity, right? Or criticizing Christianity, even though they don't really understand anything about Christianity. So that's how that episode felt throughout the entire episode. And they even made it like this episode progressively gets more and more dark. Like it turns into a horror show where I was watching it and somebody was sitting next to me and they would pop up and look at it every once in a while. And she asked me, is that a horror show? Because she doesn't know what Dave is. And I was like, no, it's not a horror show, but this episode is kind of a horror tone or whatever. It was difficult to explain. But they did it in a scary way because they're trying to paint Christianity as this dark evil, right? And then all throughout the episode, we see Gaeta, once again, the breakout character, secondary character. He's doing all this crazy stuff, having sex with women and stuff like that in the middle of a hurricane and all that stuff. And at the end, everybody's criticizing him, like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you doing this stuff? Why are you bringing women here, etc. This, that, and the other. I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but basically he explodes and he reacts and he says, yeah, I know. Like, I know I'm doing messed up stuff. I know I got a problem. And that's when he breaks down and he admits, like, he's a sex addict. He has to do this to feel something, to be happy. And that's not a good feeling. And at that moment, everybody else, all of his friends that have been with him throughout the entire series, basically stand there in shock. They don't know what to do. And the Christian family with which they're staying immediately goes to his aid, tries to console him, tries to comfort him, tells him, God loves you, and they ask to pray for him, and he accepts prayer. And some other stuff happened afterward, where basically this episode ends on a note where what they're telling us is essentially, yeah, we may not be Christians, the people in the show and whatever. We may not be Christians. We may not like Christianity, religion, not understand it. We don't agree with everything that they teach and do and stuff like that, especially in this day and age where so much stuff is happening, religion and politics mixed in ways that they shouldn't be. But the point is that they say, maybe we don't agree with it, we don't believe it, but we have to respect it. And we have to accept the idea that at least for some people, it does have value, that in certain contexts, it can be helpful for situations like the one that they showed on this episode. So I absolutely love that message, and they brought me along with the journey because I was feeling uncomfortable as I watched it because I'm a Christian. And at the end of the day, none of those criticisms disappear. They're still real, valid criticisms of my faith. But they ultimately make me feel like, yeah, but they understand why I believe. And they're trying to respect that, right? We shouldn't allow this stuff to divide us in the way that it does. So maybe you don't agree with that message, but that's not the point. The point is that stuff like that is what makes this series special. So it's much more than simply the rise of stardom of this rapper called Lil Dicky. Like, it is much more than just a dark comedy. It's very much powerful themes, topics, and message throughout, like spattered throughout, I guess, or sprinkled throughout the dark comedy and the music and the hip hop and rap themes or whatever. So that's why I love it, and that's why I really do recommend it. So, in summary, season 3, I think it's the best season so far. The way I would honestly recommend everybody watch season 1, read online a summary of season 2, and then jump into season 3. You do not want to watch season 2. That's gonna sour your experience. And the only negative thing that I have to say about this requires spoilers. So I'm gonna close this out by saying, to me, season 3 of Dave is a 10 out of 10. And I absolutely loved it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you're gonna shut this off right now, because I'm gonna get into spoilers. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on anything in the future. Thanks for watching. Until next time. For everybody else, just a brief spoiler of the final episode. This is my biggest criticism of season 3. It's the fact that it brought us on this journey for love. And like, especially taking everything else into context, season 1 and 2. Now you're starting to think, oh, Dave finally gets it. He finally realizes that fame is not the end all be all of life. Like, that shouldn't be your main goal. And he goes through this breakup with the person that clearly seems to be the love of his life. And then the final episode hits, the longest episode of the season, and they continue to hit on that message, right? Dave is realizing he needs to be a better person. Dave is realizing it's not all about fame. Dave is realizing that he is in love with this girl, that maybe he should, try to reconcile with her or whatever. And the episode ends, and there's like this voiceover by Dave basically saying sorry to somebody. I don't know, like basically reconciling with somebody. And they show, what's her name? Robin, I think it's the character. Robin looking at her phone or whatever as he's saying what he's saying. So they try to make you think that he's written her a message. So you have hopes of them reconciling. And then at the end, they reveal that all of this was just a DM that he sent into Drake, the rapper. And I'm like, and the episode ends basically, Lil Dicky goes, I don't know, I think it's to Africa or something like that, Nigeria. And he goes to Drake, and they're basically going to record music together. So the episode ends in a way, to me, like season 3 was basically, it ends in the same exact place that season 1 ended. Season 1 ended on that note, on that very same note. It was his rise, his struggle to become famous, and he ultimately sacrificed his love for that fame. And then we get season 2, and then we get season 3 where there's growth, and now he wants to find love because he already has fame. And then the season ends on him once again sacrificing love for fame. Season 3, looking back on it now, it pretty much feels like a remake of season 1. Like you could literally start off, basically, in a sense, start off watching season 3 without watching season 1 or 2 because, I mean, you're going to miss out on a few things, but it ends in the same place that season 1 ends, and that is frustrating to me. I think they really, really missed the mark on the final episode of this season. The entire episode felt like a filler episode, and then it ends in that way. Very, very frustrating to me. So that's like my only real criticism of the season 3. So that should tell you guys how much I love this season, because even with such a bad finale, I still think season 3 is a 10 out of 10. So yeah, these are my full thoughts and / review of Dave season 3. Once again, if thanks for watching this long. So once again, if you like this type of content, you want to see more, hit that like button, subscribe, notification. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Until next time.